Welcome to the 5th podcast for Ozball Villains. Today will be a little Asian Cup preview. I'll go through try and go through all the countries and the groups, a little bit of prediction, and there's a fantasy game as well I'll play, which will help with, determining who will do well in terms of players and nations. So I'll go through that. And a tipping competition as well, similar to what I do for the A-League. So I'll do all that. And I will go through the last couple of game weeks for the A-League just quickly. I didn't watch too much of it, to be honest. I was away in Perth watching the Victory play away over there in the West. So I didn't get to watch too many matches that weekend as I was travelling around. But we'll go through the last couple of game weeks as well as fantasy and tipping as always. Let's get into it. Alright, let's talk about the Asian Cup 2023. We'll go over the history a little bit to begin with. So it started in 1956, hosted by Hong Kong, South Korea the winner. I think it was only a round robin back then. I think 4 teams, beating Israel, obviously aren't part of it anymore, and South Vietnam. So 2 teams that can't participate. And then South Korea won the next edition. Haven't won it since, which is a bit surprising. Israel did win the next one, and then Iran won the next 3. And then it's been pretty mixed. Japan started dominating 90s, 2000s. Iraq, the shock 2007. Japan again, and Australia in 2015. And Qatar winning the last one, who are hosts this season. So, overall, Japan have won the most, 4, and that's in a relatively short stint. I only started winning it since 1992. Saudi Arabia and Iran both on 3, South Korea 2, and then 1 each to Israel, Kuwait, Australia, Iraq, and Qatar. South Korea 4 times runners-up, Saudi Arabia 3. 6 finals for both of those 2. So that's a little bit of a background on it. I did make a little spreadsheet, which you probably can't see unless you're on the video. It's a bit of a mini, I think I did take a lot of this info from Wikipedia. Just having a comparison of how many times they've qualified and comparison to attempts. So 2 teams have attempted every edition. That's South Korea and Malaysia. Malaysia 18 attempts, only qualified 4 times. So not a good effort there by Malaysia. They aren't really a footballing nation. Same with Hong Kong, 4 times qualified as 17 attempts. I think the worst ratio is probably Singapore, 1 time qualified, 14 attempts. Pakistan 0 and 13 probably is worse, to be fair. But of the teams that have qualified, it's probably Singapore, Taiwan, 2 out of 12. Best striker, I've got Iraq, 10 out of 10. Iran, 15 out of 15. China 13 out of 13. Australia, of course, as well. Only attempted all the way down here 5 times, but 5 times in. Group stage. So this number you'd rather to have low. Qatar 7 times group stage. That's the highest out of their 11 times qualified, which means only 4 times they've gone out of the group stage. So obviously the more times you qualify, the more chance of the group stage, but you don't want to be there, of course. Round of 16. That's sort of a relatively new thing, as you can tell, by only having 8 or so teams making it, each on 1 each. Quarterfinals, Iraq and Iran 4 times each. 4th place, Iraq, China, Vietnam, both all on 2. 3rd place, Iran and South Korea, as we mentioned, always up there. 2nd place, South Korea, and we already mentioned 2nd and 1st. So it's a little spreadsheet. I was going to keep adding to it. It's got all the progress. I can put in the link, or it is on Wikipedia, but I've just altered it a bit. It's a bit more customizable when I've imported onto Excel. So we'll go through, I think, some of the teams. I was going to check if there are any more historical things to mention or any records, but I think we'll do that later. If not, you can check the link or that Wikipedia page. So as we mentioned, South Korea and Iran 15 times each. Two of the sort of favourites, both in. China in 13th time. All these teams obviously have played in the last edition until I say otherwise. Only a few teams that haven't played in the last edition. Qatar hosts, of course. Sorry. Are in. We've also got Saudi Arabia. I'll do it in the groups and the fixtures a bit later. I'm just going through the teams here. United Arab Emirates in 11th time. Japan 10th. Is that a bit surprising? They did start late in Asia in this format. Iraq 10 times in. Uzbekistan 8th time. Thailand 8th. Syria 7th. Bahrain 7th. Australia 5th, as we mentioned, since joining from the OFC. Oman 5th. Vietnam 5th. India, Jordan, Indonesia all 5th. So Indonesia last time was 2007. I think they did host that with Malaysia, who also last time made it 2007. So they've only both made it recently because of the hosting. Hong Kong, first time since 1968. Now this is an expanded tournament, but that's great. I mean, they made the first three, even hosting the first one under British rule, I think. First time since 1968, so it'll be interesting to see how they go. Lebanon third time, Palestine third time, Kyrgyzstan second time, 2 in a row for them. And the new debutants is Tajikistan, first time. So also interesting to see how they go. It's going to go through the squads. I might do that a little bit with the fantasy and the tipping competition, which I'll go through in the next section. But we'll go through the groups and a little bit of a preview / prediction. So Group A, Qatar, China, Lebanon, Tajikistan. So I think probably one of the weakest groups, I would say. Qatar should be favourites. I mean, despite their poor World Cup showing, it was the World Cup, of course. They did have Ecuador, Senegal, Netherlands, I think. China, Lebanon, Tajikistan, so much easier. Obviously, it is the Asian Cup, but it is a relatively easy group. I expect them to be on top. Again, at home, I know they don't have a huge fan base. They didn't fill their own stadiums in the World Cup. They were left at half time. They should be first, if not second. But in second position, I would say China, but they have not been doing well recently. And that's 5-10 years is what I'm talking about. I will load up these most recent results just to get a quick little idea. I'll just keep on Qatar for now. We'll check out their recent results. They just lost to Jordan in a friendly 2-1. They beat Cambodia in a friendly, but Cambodia aren't the strongest nation. I do want to look at the last 2 World Cup qualifiers. It's probably a better measure. It wasn't too long ago, November, so recent and probably very similar squads. They beat India 3-0 away and Afghanistan. I think that was their third string side though. 8-1. So nothing amazing, not great opposition. They did lose to Jordan, so not promising. So again, I do have doubts, but again, in that weak group, surely they make it. China, as I mentioned, have not done well. They literally just lost to Hong Kong, 2 red cards though, but 2-1 to Hong Kong. Friendly, I know, but that's a pretty big result. They then lost to Oman 2-0. In the World Cup qualifiers, they lost to South Korea 3-0 at home, expected. They did beat Thailand away 2-1, which is a pretty good result actually. So overall though, not great. 1 win of those 4, so really not great form. As I said, I honestly am going to say Tajikistan might actually get second in their debut. Let's go to Tajikistan now. We'll do Lebanon last. Tajikistan did just beat Hong Kong 2-1, and they beat Pakistan 6-1 in the World Cup qualifiers and 1-0 with Jordan. So good results. Expected to beat Pakistan, expected to beat Hong Kong, but 1-0 draw with Jordan is pretty good. I know it was at home. Jordan, sort of middle tier Asian side. That's not a bad result for Tajikistan. I'll be very interested to see how they do. Again, I'll do the tipping later, but I actually think they might go second, and I almost want to see that. It'd be great for the debutants, if not third. And finally, Lebanon. I do expect everyone to beat Lebanon. They just lost to Saudi Arabia, only 1-0. They beat Jordan 2-1 in a friendly, though. 1-1 with Bangladesh and 0-0 with Palestine in the World Cup. So actually not too bad of a result. I am going to put them fourth in this group. Again, especially with what's going on over there, that may have an effect on the players' mental side of things. So I'm going to put them as fourth. Group B, we've got Uzbekistan, Australia, Syria, and India. So, not a bad group for Australia. Uzbekistan, a pretty good side. Syria gave us a scare all those years ago. And India, we should be comfortable with them. We have beaten them 4-0 or so before. I'll start with Uzbekistan. I do have high hopes for them, actually. I think they will be finishing second comfortably. And Australia too. I think it should be at least 2 wins for both of them when they play each other. Maybe a draw, but Australia should win. So expect the sort of that typical 9-6-3-0 group where the top team beats everyone, the second team beats everyone except the top team, third team beats just the bottom team and not the other two, and the bottom team loses to everyone. So Australia, Uzbekistan, Syria, India, I'm suspecting. Uzbekistan's recent results: 1-0 against Palestine, 4-1 against Kyrgyzstan. These are friendlies. The World Cup qualifiers: 2-2 against Iran. Great results. And an away win against Turkmenistan, 3-1. So good recent form. Lots of goals. They are missing their star striker. I think Shmorodov was his name, the one who plays in Russia. He's out. So that is a bit of a blow. So because of that, I still think they'll make it through, but I don't think they'll make it as far. I would have had them at least almost even semis, but quarterfinals now. So that's not great for them. Australia, 2-0 win against Bahrain in the last friendly. A gritty win against Palestine away in the World Cup qualifiers, and then the 7-0 win, as we mentioned. I was there. 7-0 against Bangladesh. Expected win there. Good hopes for Australia. I do expect them to be top, as I said, should be making the semis. I know a lot of people looking ahead and saying who will play, depending on finishing top. We've got the harder side of the group. We've got to go through Saudi Arabia, then Japan, before meeting Korea in the final if all things go to plan. Obviously a tough run, but again, if you're going to win, you can get lucky sometimes by the big teams getting knocked out, like, for example, Korea being on the supposed easier side, hoping that Australia, Saudi Arabia, Japan all knock each other out somehow, and then they get to the final against Japan losing in the semis to somebody else, and then they just make it. Of course, that always happens. There are fairy tale runs. Qatar last time was a bit of a shock. Iraq in 2007. If they win it, they do usually deserve it. There are a few tournaments where a team doesn't deserve it. People think about Greece in the Euros. Deserve it, but undeserved. 1-0 wins. Gritty defending, things like that. But that's football, so we'll see what happens. But I do expect at least the semis. Syria, recent form: 2-2 against Malaysia, 1-1 against Kyrgyzstan, a 5-0 loss to Japan in the World Cup qualifiers, and then a 1-0 win against North Korea. So not great recent form, especially considering the opposition in Kyrgyzstan and Malaysia. Again, third place will be interesting to see when we do the rankings of the third place teams. Of the 6, 4 make it. So still, as I said, 24 becomes 16. So it is weeding out the sort of really weak sides, like I said, like India and a few others, which we'll go through later. So ranking it in the round of 16, still a good effort, of course. It can be tricky, especially if you get pipped by goal difference in some of those rankings, like Melbourne City did in the Champions League. India, recent form: a 3-0 loss to Qatar, a 1-0 win against Kuwait. So a good result there. Didn't play any friendlies. Oh, sorry, that was the World Cup qualifiers. Sorry, didn't play any friendlies leading up to it, and they have an all Indian Super League squad. I think that is the rule, or you have to be born in India. It's not too bad. Surprised they didn't play any friendlies. It's going to be tough for them. We'll see how they do. Again, major tournament, you never know. They have been improving. Sunil Chetri in his last tournament, surely he's nearly 40. I did say bottom. I expect maybe a goal here and there. They could scare, especially Syria, of course. It will be tough. There are a lot of Indians in Qatar as well, so it'll be a little bit of a crowd boost by them. So we'll see how that group goes. Let's go on to C. We've got UAE, Iran, Hong Kong, and Palestine. So that group is not too bad for Iran. UAE, again, just by the pots and the rankings, should be Iran, UAE, Palestine, and Hong Kong as expected. UAE not the strongest team for a second ranked one in that group. Their recent form, they lost to Oman in a friendly and they beat Kyrgyzstan 1-0. They lost 1-0 to Oman, that was. And for the World Cup qualifiers, they have started well, a 2-0 and a 4-0 win against Bahrain and Nepal respectively. So decent form for them. Again, not world beaters, not the most famous team in the Arab region. Should be second. Palestine aren't half bad. Again, a lot going on there though that will have an effect. But it would be tight for that second, third place. So we'll see how it happens. Iran, 5-0 against Indonesia and 2-1 against Burkina Faso of Africa. For the friendlies, World Cup qualifiers, 2-2 against Uzbekistan and a 4-0 against Hong Kong. So that is a bit of a preview of what's going to happen in that group against Hong Kong. For Team Mali, Hong Kong, 2-0 loss to Saudi Arabia, 2-1 loss to Tajikistan, and then that 2-1 win against China. So 3 friendlies, 1 win, 2 losses. And then in the World Cup qualifiers, as we mentioned, 4-0 loss to Hong Kong, 2-2 against Turkmenistan. So it is going to be tough for this nation as it's the first time since 1968. Hopefully they can throw up a surprise, squeeze in for that third spot. I mean, I'm not supporting any team, but it would just be interesting to see if they could get into third spot. And finally, Palestine, 0-0 Saudi Arabia, and a 1-0 loss to Uzbekistan in the friendlies. In the World Cup qualifiers, as we saw, a 1-0 loss to Australia, 0-0 with Lebanon. So also not great form. Again, with everything's going on, they could be bottom, unfortunately. It would be interesting to see that Hong Kong-Palestine match. Very interesting to see what happens there. Might be tight for that third place. Next, Group D, we got Japan, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Iraq. So Japan, favourites for the group, favourites for the tournament. Should be an easy group, to be honest. They should be winning every game. They should be scoring a few goals. They may not even concede. Their most recent form has been great. 6-1 against Jordan, 5-0 against Thailand in friendlies, and then 2 5-0 wins in the World Cup qualifiers against Syria and Myanmar, respectively. I do want to mention their extra recent form. A lot have been said about it. 2-0 against Tunisia, 4-1 against Canada, 4-2 against Turkey, 4-1 against Germany, 4-1 against Peru, 6-0 against El Salvador. So, unbelievable form. They are a stacked team. People saying their second team could probably even make it far into the tournament. And I agree, they should be making the final at the least. Anything can happen in the final, of course, but they should be making the final with ease. Anything other than that would be a failure. Even losing might be a failure in some people's eyes, but at least the final, surely. Vietnam. Now, I had high hopes for Vietnam last year or so. I thought they were up and coming team. Their league is stronger. They're a very passionate fan base, and they do love the sport. Good population. Decent country in general in terms of, economic and stability. Not the best, obviously, but up there in terms of Asia and even parts of the world. Just recently have fallen off a bit. 2-1 loss to Kyrgyzstan in a friendly. They lost to Iraq in the group, in the World Cup, but they're in this group for the Asian Cup. And then they beat Philippines 2-0. I think last year I would have said comfortably second, but now them and in Iraq battling it out, I almost am putting Iraq above. It'll be a good game. I am putting Iraq above, especially if that recent form win. We'll do Iraq now. They lost to South Korea 1-0 in the friendly. They beat Vietnam 1-0, as we said, and they beat Indonesia 5-1. So 3 of these teams in that World Cup qualifier group. Gives you a little bit of a preview. Iraq 5-1 against Indonesia. So I am putting them second, I think. It'll be a good game. Iraq vs Vietnam, neutral territory. They did beat them away though, Iraq, so they should be the favourites, and I think they'll be second. Vietnam third, and Indonesia now, first time since 2007 when they hosted it. Not the strongest nation. 5-0 loss to Iran in the friendly, a 1-2 loss at home to Libya, or twice they played Libya and lost both times, so not great form at all. 1-1 with the Philippines, who didn't even qualify in the World Cup qualifier this is, and 5-1 to Iraq as we mentioned, so I'm not expecting too much from them. I think they'll finish bottom comfortably. Very unlikely to finish third. E, we have Bahrain, South Korea, Malaysia and Jordan. So pretty straightforward group for South Korea. Bahrain and Jordan, middle-sized Arab nations. I think Jordan probably second, Bahrain third, Malaysia fourth. Let's go through Bahrain first. Their recent friendlies, as we said, 2-0 loss to Australia, 3-0 loss to Angola of Africa, so not a great result. Lost to UAE in the World Cup qualifier 2-0, and they beat Yemen 2-0 in the World Cup qualifier. So not great form for them. As I said, probably third. But you never know. Could be easily second or even fourth. Those teams all could be mixed up. South Korea, 1-0 win against Iraq in the friendly, a 3-0 win against China, and a 5-0 win against Singapore. So big results. Haven't conceded in a while as I'm looking down. Not since an El Salvador match in June. That includes clean sheets against Wales, Saudi Arabia, Tunisia, Vietnam. All wins except the draw with Wales. But scoring a lot as well. It's about 20 goals in the last 6 games. So stacked as well. I think I should be making... could be a Japan-Korea final if I got it correct. I'll check that side of the draw, sorry. We'll do that little preview later, sorry. But I do expect them to go very far in the group. At least, again, anything less than a semi-final I would consider to be a failure. We'll do that little draw thing later. Let's go to Malaysia. They drew 2-2 Syria in a friendly. They beat Taiwan in a World Cup qualifier, and Kyrgyzstan 4-3. I think they came back from 3-1 down. So decent form for them. That's what I'm saying. I think this group is tighter than people think. I didn't expect Malaysia to be third months ago, but with his recent form, maybe third now. It's going to be a good group, actually. I'm very excited to watch that one. And finally, Jordan. They lost to Japan 6-1. They beat Qatar 2-1, and they lost to Lebanon 2-1 in a friendly. World Cup qualifiers, they lost to Saudi Arabia 2-0 and 1-0 with Tajikistan. So not the best form from Jordan. A few friendly losses before that, late last year. So again, that's going to be really tight. Can't wait to see what happens there. And finally, Group F. So we've got Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Oman, and Kyrgyzstan. So again, pretty easy group for the Saudis. Oman and Thailand may give them a little bit, but I think that should be comfortable. 3 wins out of 3 for the Saudis. Good recent form as well. Friendlies, they beat Hong Kong and Lebanon 2-0, 1-0, and 0-0 with Palestine. And in the World Cup qualifiers, 2-0 win against Jordan and 4-0 against the Pakistani side. So as I said, I think 3 wins with them. They should be comfortable in that group. Thailand, again, similar to Vietnam. I did want them to come up. I thought they were, but not that much recently. 5-0 loss to Japan in the friendly. They beat Singapore 3-1 in the World Cup qualifiers, and they lost to China 2-1. So for that second place, I think I'm giving it to Oman just, but it's tight. Oman's recent form, 2 friendly wins against China and UAE, 2-0, 1-0. They lost to Kyrgyzstan, surprisingly, in that World Cup qualifier. So, and they beat Taiwan 3-0 in the other one. Kyrgyzstan's in the group, so that throws up a little bit of a curveball. In Kyrgyzstan, of course, is a neutral one. They would have more experience to get that revenge. Kyrgyzstan, you never know. They did beat Vietnam 2-1, and they drew Syria in the friendlies. 2-1 win, 1-1 draw. 2 other friendlies. They lost to UAE and Uzbekistan 1-0 and 4-0. So not great recent form. That 2-1, 1-0 win against Oman, as we mentioned, they lost a 4-3 to Malaysia. So they are also, as I said, have a familiar foe in Oman. That's a tight one now. I still am sticking with it as Saudi, Oman, Thailand, Kyrgyzstan though, but you never know, as we've mentioned many times before. We'll look a quick look at the bracket. So the top half, as they're saying, winner of Group D is the main one to focus on, and that was the Japan side. Winner of Group B, as we mentioned, Australia. And then winner of Group F, as we mentioned, the Saudis. So 3 of the bigger teams on one half. The other half leads, well, Iran I consider big as well. So Iran, South Korea, and, well, as I said, Qatar. Because of that sort of weaker first pot and apparent stronger team that makes the South Korea-Iran ever so slightly easier draw. But it's tight. It's too hard to predict now. I'll do have another podcast coming up in a couple of weeks, probably after the group stage, if not the round of 16, so we can discuss it then. It'll be interesting to see that. I will go into maybe the fantasy and tipping now. Again, tipping will be similar to the preview fantasy, not too in-depth, just, again, a bit to learn about some of the players and who everyone's picking and which players to watch out for. So I'll do that in the next section. Alright, let's do a little bit about fantasy. Only the last week's result. I can see the other one, but not as much stats. 128 points, which is pretty high, but there was that extra match with Adelaide playing twice, and I did have Zach Cloth captain, who did do very well for me, mind you. But there were extra points to be had for Adelaide and MacArthur players, which I did have Popovic as well, and Nicolau, who didn't do too well, those two. So that week, 300 overall, so not too bad. Still up there. Like to get a little bit higher, of course. But it's not too bad of a start to this season. 8 out of 10 league matches won. Paulson, 6 points. Still the best keeper in the game. Suprayan, who I brought in instead of Talbot, hasn't done too much. 5 points. It's annoying when they win 8-1 and he doesn't get any points. Not from scoring, of course, but just a clean sheet despite dominating. Popovic, 4, hasn't done too well lately, so there. Nicolau, 12 points, which is good. For 2 games, it's actually not too bad. 6 each, average. 12 overall is great. Bonatig, 6 points on the bench, and then I did have Majek Kudunmi, but I didn't really plan to have him on the field. 17 points. Great result just for coming on and scoring. Arslan, 5. Zach Cloth there, 23, so doubled up to 46. Jay O'Shea has not been doing well the last few weeks. I don't think I'll be getting him out, but I just got to keep an eye on him. Danzaki didn't play, which is annoying. Surely I have to get rid of him now. Joe Coletti, 3 points. Tulio I do have to get rid of, but a great parting gift. He's given me quite a few points before leaving. Fabio Gomez is in great form now, so I'll be keeping him. More points than McLaren. Only got 3 points last week overall now. So in terms of transfers, it will definitely be Tulio, and at 603, that is heaps. I could get anyone. I could even downgrade a bit and get a lot of cash to upgrade and somebody else. Or just get the best. Angel Torres, I think, is actually really high. He didn't do too well last week. I will check now the player's stats in terms of pricing that. Again, I won't do any live transfers or anything. I'll do that a bit later. So, total points. Joe Lolly. Joe Lolly as well. He's a great player to have. 731 though. He's huge. Okay, there Angel went down a lot for that 5-pointer, because he was getting 20-point average over 3 weeks. Bruno's away as well, so a couple of big players out in Bruno and Tulio. Everyone else is still around. Costa's doing really well, almost cracking the top 10. Let's see who's gone up this week. It was Tulio went up it's not the most. Fabio Gomez, great. So he went up heaps. Joe Lolly, I really do want to bring him in, but that price tag is just huge. Curtis Good with an assist up there. And a goal, I think, the week before. Natal as well. That's a tempting one. He might be starting to get into a bit of form. Natal and McLaren up front though, not sure. Costa probably missed the train for that one. Hiroshi, 27. Oof, not bad. And the players who've gone down. So it was Angel Torres, but he was so high just to get 5 points. Ben Waller, -4, down heaps. J. O'Shea, as we mentioned. Crive and Payne. So a few tempting players going down. Ninkovic, not tempting at all. Even Paulson's going down. So, yeah, as I said, I think I would have to upgrade, transfer Tullio. Maybe upgrade Danzaki. I've always wanted to do for a while. I just haven't gotten rid of him because he's just playing and he's just at the bottom basement price. But we'll see. I'll do that later. I will get into the tipping now. I don't think I did too well the last couple of rounds, to be honest. Let's have a look. Round 10, I only got 2 points. That was the City results and the Jets results. Oh, wait, no, 4 points. Sorry, I was looking elsewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, not bad. The last week was the 2-pointer. Sydney FC, right, and City, right. So this week, 2 games, 5:30 MacArthur FC game. At home to Western United, I have to give it to them. Melbourne City against the Wanderers, that's a cracking game. I think City now on their form and at home, I think they'll get the job done. Mariners and Victory, that's a great game as well. Both in good form, as we saw. 2-2 last time. I was there. Honestly, I think the Mariners will get the job done this time. Adelaide versus Sydney, also not too bad of a game. Oh yeah, these are all at Allianz. Sorry, these are all in Sydney, Unite round. So home advantage out the window. So that's actually a home game for the Wanderers, sorry. That does change a little bit actually. I might go for a draw there. MacArthur still winning. Mariners not in Gosford, still in Sydney. That one then, I actually might go for Sydney FC as well, to be honest. Brisbane Roar versus the Jets. Probably the Jets. Brisbane Roar in shocking form. And then Perth versus Phoenix. Distance derby in Sydney. Perth have terrible away form, but will it carry over when then playing a team that's not technically playing at home? I think yes. So Phoenix for me. How am I doing in this one? I'm ranked 312 out of 3,000, so not too bad for the tipping. I think I'll leave it at that. I will check over it again. Well, at the time of recording, it is... Actually, no, I'll just leave it for now. And I haven't gone... Oh, no, I've gotten for 1 draw this week. I haven't really tipped an upset this week, to be honest. These all seem pretty safe bets. I do want to pick one upset. Maybe the Sydney is an upset. Actually, no, I think that'd be favourites. I'll leave the draw. I think I'll just leave it at that. So that's it for this week. As I said, more about Asian Cup, a little bit of A-League. Next coming weeks, we'll be focusing on the Asian Cup as they go through. I might do one after the group stage or after the round of 16. We'll see how we go for time. And then, yeah, a few little A-League updates as we go. I think that's it for now. I will be getting into maybe some NPL stuff, especially in Victoria coming up. That is coming up in a month or so. Bit of local stuff, NPL, State League, Australia Cup qualifiers, even from the lower leagues. We'll be doing that soon, and I will check if there's any updates for other Asian leagues coming up. I think they're already starting in Japan and Korea very soon, actually, and the rest of the Southeast Asian leagues are already continuing, so we'll get into that as well in the coming podcasts. So until then, see you then. Okay, let's get into the A-League. We'll start with round 10. It was Melbourne City 8, Brisbane Roar 1. Massive result there. Brisbane Roar in all sorts of trouble now. And Melbourne City starting to fire up. Goals from Good, McLaren, Natal. McLaren hat-trick, Natal. Arslan and Ben Mazea coming on and scoring again. And 1 goal from Brownlee for Brisbane Roar. Again, I'll go through these quickly. I just want to mainly focus on the Asian Cup for this week. Next game was Sydney FC 3, Wellington Phoenix 1. Grant scoring the first. Costa Barbarousse scoring again. Great form. But then late goals from Mac and Fabio Gomez. Gomez starting to fire as well. An assist and a goal. So another win, or not another win, a win for Sydney. Good win actually. Phoenix now not on top after that little top of the table controversy with victory of about goal difference or wins. But they won't be on top now. Newcastle Jets 2, Western United 0. 2 early goals from Trent Bahaja and a red card to Stematolopoulos. Second yellow for a foul. The top of the box. Western United again losing and cannot score. Good win for the Jets. They needed that. Melbourne victory 2, Adelaide United 0. I was at this match. Late goals from Machash and Bruno again. Last goal before heading off to the Asian Cup, as we mentioned. So great result for the victory again. Still undefeated in the original rivalry. Central Coast Mariners 4, Perth Glory 2. Taggart with the early goal, but then the Mariners firing back with 3 goals in the half. Farrell, Qual and Tulio in his final home match. Kolakowski got a lovely goal back, and then a late Tulio penalty to celebrate in front of the home fans before departing, and then 2 late red cards to Beavers and Shushnia, their defenders, which will not help them against the victory, as we'll see later. Wanderers 3, MacArthur FC 1. Antonsen, Simmons scoring early, Holman with an amazing goal to peg one back, but then Valentino Uel with a late goal to seal the win for the Wanderers. MacArthur also in a bit of poor form. Adelaide United 2, Wellington Phoenix 2 in a great match. Costa Barbarousse scoring again. Hiroshi Basuki scoring twice. Barbarousse as well. So Costa versus Hiroshi there. Kiwi versus the Japanese. Ben Wallen late red card. So 2-2 in a great entertaining game. Good results. Great game for the neutrals. The next round, round 11, game week 11, MacArthur FC 1, Newcastle Jets 1. Taylor scoring early before a late Germain penalty, making it 1-1. Western Sydney Wanderers 0, Central Coast Mariners 1. Again, Tulio scoring. Great form before heading off to Japan, to Kyoto. To give those away fans a great victory and some great memories from him. Big win there for the Mariners. Brisbane Roar 1, Sydney FC 2. Fabio Gomez, 2 first half goals, Mila Jusnic also scoring just before half time. So 1-2, Sydney winning again, back in form and coming up the table, and Brisbane Roar down again. Perth Glory 2, Melbourne Victory 3. So I travelled to Perth for New Year's and went to this match. Nice little stadium there. I have been to Perth actually a few years ago to watch the same fixture, which was 2-2. Taggart scoring early. Zidane Machash with a great goal. Both were great goals actually. Rus Kamau, second yellow for diving. A bit rough there, but it was there. I do want to see that actually, to stamp out diving. And then Eli Adams with an amazing goal 6 minutes after coming on. And then Majikudunmi, if that's how you pronounce it, came on late, I think for his first minutes for the season actually, and scoring a nice goal before Ben Falami scoring there in front of us away fans. Fantastic result there. Victory again, still undefeated. Western United 1, Melbourne City 2. Ruse with the early goal, and then Saki and Tonis both with lovely goals. Great round for goals. A couple of rounds for goals. City winning again, 2-1. And then finally Adelaide United 1, MacArthur FC 1. Monday night, Ben Halloran scoring cancelled out by Jermaine. He's going well as well. 1-1 there. So let's have a look at the standings. Victory on top, undefeated. 6 wins, 5 draws. 11 goal difference, 23 points. So great start for them. A lot of draws, of course, but no losses. Everyone else has at least 2 losses. Wellington Phoenix still in second, still doing very well despite a loss and a draw. Wanderers losing as well last week, so there's a bit of a pile up, even all the way down. Well, even into 10th, to be honest. 5 points separating 3rd and 10th between the bottom two, who are in poor form the whole season, Perth and Western United. Form teams would have to be the Mariners and City, a bit of Sydney FC. 3 wins in a row. Can actually just go to the form table here. I'll do last 5. Mariners, yes, 4 wins, 1 draw, plus 10 goal difference. Victory, City, Sydney. So those 4 teams are going along nicely. Let's have a look at the goal scorers. Bruno still on top, 13 goals. Will be away for a few weeks, but still 6 clear. I was going to say of Stamatolopoulos, who also will be missing the game because of a red card. Top 2 away for a week at least. And Taggart and McLaren coming up now, 7 and 7, and then quite a few players down on 6. Costa as well, great form. Torres might have to step up without Tulio, and Jermaine doing very nicely as well. So that's it for the A-League for this week. Sorry, it's a bit of a quick one, but I did want to mainly focus on the Asian Cup. I'll do a little bit about fantasy and tipping now. Okay, let's go through some fantasy stuff. This will be quick if you're not interested. I think I'm sticking with this team for now. I've got Wade up front, who's been banging in goals. Craig Goodwin will change captaincy. We'll see. Soyrov has scored recently as well. So, again, I will change the team a little bit. It is a rough side for now. Lee Kang-in of Korea. I did want to get Son in, but we'll see. He's quite expensive. I'm going to transfer that Vietnamese Lee Pam guy out. Shukurov for Uzbekistan, and Kuboy is injured. I am going to monitor that. Or maybe swap him for Minatomo. Harry Suter in defense, especially against India, should score. Hashemi in defense, and Razaian, for Iran. I put in Suzuki as the keeper. Got Kim Min-jae as well, Ashmuratov for Uzbekistan, and Al Dosari. I think, as I said, I'll bring on some of these. We'll have to read the rules again because I'm forgetting a few things. I'll do it now, actually. It's similar to Fantasy Premier League. I mean, I talk about the A-League Fantasy. It's totally different to that. Different scoring, similar to the English Premier League scoring. There are match days, so you can change your captain when there's the first game is on its own. But then every day after that, I think there are 3 matches, so you can change. The rules have not loaded up on the webpage. It's alright, we'll do it another time. And then you can do transfers at the end of each game week. I won't go too much into it. As I said, I'll just go through a few of the players. Son, Kim Min-jae, and Kubo, most picked players. Al Dosari, Tomiyasu, Suzuki, Taremi, Lee Kang-in. Captain, probably the similar players. Son, captain. Again, it's easy to pick a captain, and you should always get good points. You know, if you pick, especially the ones who are playing early, like Australia, for example, Mitch Duke, and he gets, 10 points, you just keep him captain. If he gets only 2, then you clearly put him onto the next guy. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think it's my first time playing this, actually. We'll move on to the match predictor. Again, it sort of goes hand in hand on what I did before. So, Qatar, Lebanon, I've picked Qatar. Australia, India, I am going Australia. There's a ×2 booster, which I might use. I wouldn't say on Australia. I'll check later. China versus Tajikistan. Ugh, honestly, I'm really tempted for a draw. And I'll do a few more. I want to pick a couple of upsets. You kind of have to. Uzbekistan will win. Japan will win. That one, UAE should be beating Hong Kong. Iran easily. South Korea. So a lot of easy games. First one. Iraq, yes. Malaysia, Jordan. Now, I'm going to go Jordan for now. I'm just going to pick, I think, all the popular ones for the first game week. And then I want to pick one upset. And I do want to put a boost on. Well, I think you have to put a boost on. Can you go to match day 2? Oh, you can. I might do that a bit later. Actually, I'll do it now just in case I don't have a chance to change it. Honestly, I want an upset. I'm going to go Tajikistan for this one. And I'm not going to put my booster on that one. I'm going to put it on... Do these not save? Oh, because I flicked off the page. Ah, shocking. Uzbekistan save. I'm going to put Japan as my booster. They're surely going to win that. It'd be a big, big shock to they lose that. UAE, as I mentioned. Iran against Palestine. South Korea. Iraq. That's sort of the iffy one. I could be doing a draw. I'm going to go Jordan. Thailand as well. As I said, that's... Yeah. There are a couple of tempting picks to go against the grain. And I've sort of picked one that's least likely to go against the grain in Tajikistan. So maybe I'll edit that and go draw. And I'm actually going to then change another one of these to have an upset. I think Thailand should get the job done. I'm going to go this one actually. I'm going to go Thailand to draw with Kyrgyzstan. Nice. We'll go to match day 2. I'm going to see my match day 1s were saved because I don't trust this website. It has been a bit glitchy, especially with the fantasy. Yep, that's good. We'll do match day 2 now because I won't be hearing from me till after all this, so I may as well do it now. Lebanon, China. I'm going to go China. I don't think they're going to draw with both those teams. Tajikistan, Qatar. I'm going to give Qatar all wins, especially at home. I think they're going to bounce back. Australia should be beating Syria. India, Uzbekistan. That's an Uzbekistan win. Palestine, UAE. Should be UAE. Iraq, Japan. That's Japan. Vietnam, Indonesia. I think Vietnam, Indonesia just aren't good enough. Iran is going to beat Hong Kong, and I'm going to put that as my booster. Jordan, South Korea. That's a South Korea win. Bahrain, Malaysia. I think Bahrain. Actually, I'm going to go draw for that one. That's going to be my little mini upset. Oman, Thailand. Well, I'm considering Thailand aren't going to be great, so I'm going to have to give Oman the win now. And Saudis beat them, so I've been pretty harsh on Thailand. And match day 3. Tajikistan, Lebanon. Good game. Good game. I'm going draw. Qatar, China. Qatar win that. Syria, India. Syria win. India maybe, but I'm going to go Syria. Australia, Uzbekistan. Honestly, I think we almost might be done by then. I'm actually going to go draw. I really rate Uzbekistan. So I think they might actually sneak a draw there. Palestine should be beating Hong Kong. Iran, UAE. Easy. Japan, Indonesia is my triple. Should have been for all Japans to be fair, but I'll do that one. Iraq, Vietnam. Again, a few months ago I would have said Vietnam, maybe a draw, but I'm going Iraq now. Jordan, Bahrain. Oof, that's a tight one. I'm going to go Jordan. South Korea, Malaysia. South Korea win that. Kyrgyzstan, Oman. I'm going to go Oman. And then Saudis to beat Thailand. Actually, I should have done this on another website, so I could have done a group table preview so you can see, because now I don't know who's on top and what. Maybe I'll do it on another website and put it up on my Twitter or X. Just so we can see and other people can compare. I think that's it for this section. Asian Cup, as I said, I'll have another one coming up regarding Asian Cup in a couple of weeks, hopefully after the group stage, if I can squeeze it in that little few day break. I think it's around the public holiday here in Australia actually, so it might be perfect timing. Anyway, we'll just move on to the regular A-League and Fantasy and after this.